I'm going to eat this banana, and then hopefully, as my blood sugar comes up, and I go into hour 2 of trying to shoot like a 6-minute video, hello beautiful people, my name is Athol and this is Relationship Momentum. So today I have a reader question, and a all-purpose reminder, if you have a question for me, you can send it to AskAtholAnything@gmail.com. That will be in the description below, so let's jump to it. How do you tell the difference between low self-esteem and something much deeper? Well, the first answer to that, and I guess this is going to be kind of trite, is that if it's low self-esteem, it's always something deeper. People don't just develop low self-esteem out of thin air. There's always some sort of explanation back in their personal timeline about why they have low self-esteem. Essentially, a bunch of negative stuff happened to them, and from that, they've internalized a lack of low value, low worth about themselves, and they've decided they aren't worth much, and thus they have low self-esteem. And in some ways, it's helpful and useful to have low self-esteem because it's a pretty good predictor of how life will be in the future. Kind of like if you'd gone to a restaurant 3 times and it was bad all 3 times. If you're planning to go for a 4th time, you have a pretty good prediction that it's going to be bad again. The trouble with low self-esteem, though, is that it's also a self-fulfilling prophecy in that you are basically telling the universe, telling the world, telling the people that you meet by your language, your body language, the vibes you're sending out, that you have low worth, you have low value, and because that's the message you send, people pick up on the message and they decide you have low value, so they treat you poorly. That being said, low self-esteem is not necessarily some kind of crippling disability. There are plenty of people who have low self-esteem who have normal, productive lives. It's probably not as happy as it could be. They're probably not as successful as they could be. They're not enjoying their relationships as much as they could, but they basically get through their day fine. Probably, oh, and of course, in the Facebook, Instagram world in which we live, at this point, probably 80% of the population have low self-esteem because that no one's life could be ever as good as it is on Facebook or Instagram or my fabulous life on YouTube, right? So it's more than just low self-esteem, though, when you start seeing major dysfunction, where they can't hold a job, they can't deal with conflict, their personal relationships start falling apart all the time, they can't parent their kids, they can't balance their check, they can't do a whole bunch of normal, everyday adult stuff because of whatever is wrong with them above and beyond just low self-esteem. And that's almost always in their past. They have some sort of major traumatic events or series of events or years of upbringing that have made them the way they are, and they can't tolerate doing some things that normal adults can do. That's when you see it's more than just low self-esteem. Above and beyond that, when I get really worried, is when I can see some really negative effects now, and yet there is no explanations for what has happened in the past. You just get a kind of veiled thing. Yeah, they don't really like talking about their family. Yeah, they don't really want to talk about their upbringing. I think there was something that happened with an uncle, but I don't really know about it. That's when you know stuff is pretty deep and pretty real. When you can see major negative effects in their life now, and yet the explanation for all that is hidden, obscured, or you're only getting part of the story. And I've come across this dozens and dozens of times in coaching now, where I've been talking to some husband and he's explaining what his wife does and how she reacts, and she's hypersensitive about this, and she doesn't like rejected that, and she goes crazy if you criticize, and she has black and white thinking. All kinds of things where she's really reactive, and yet there's nothing in the history that suggests that she should be this way. So is she just some sort of random, nasty, vicious person? Or is there something really dark that happened back there? And unfortunately, I've now probably uncovered some sort of sexual abuse, I don't know, dozens of times now in coaching, where I've said to a husband, you really have to go back and dig. You have to ask questions. And when they do, and they really hold the wife's feet to the fire or whatever, some of the stuff comes out. And that's been the real problem all the time. So, summarizing. Basic low self-esteem, it's not a major dysfunction, and you can, in a sense, almost sort of force yourself to positive think your way to improvement. More than just low self-esteem, it's when people have trouble doing their daily stuff for some reason, and you can often see major causes in their history. And it's really worrying, though, when you see major dysfunctions and no explanation for why they are like they are. That means there's something back there, yay car, that is driving the bus on why they are as they are. So, that's about it. I'm finished with my banana. I hope you liked the video. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and all that yummy, good internet stuff. Yum, nom, nom, nom. And I will talk to you tomorrow.